Welcome to the Sports Fit Mum podcast, the place for expert knowledge and advice for your pregnancy and post-baby health and fitness journey. If we haven't met before, I'm Marnie, mum of two, health and fitness coach, international athlete and founder of the Sports Fit Mum community. Join us each and every week for lots of motivation and inspirational stories for you, the sport-playing, exercising, loving mum or mum. Had you heard of a baby-wearing consultant? Nope, me neither. Well, that was until I met Ruth from Carrying Connects. She joined us on today's podcast and we talked all about the 3 tips when choosing a sling, what exactly is a baby wearing consultant, and if you check out the show notes, she gives away a free V-book guide to baby wearing basics, as well as a 20% discount to her Baby Wearing for Beginners course. I've done that course and it's absolutely awesome, so I recommend it. Enjoy the podcast with Ruth. You will hear her little baby Benji in the background. But here at SportsFit Mums, we keep it real, we keep it raw. And it's all about real mums talking about real issues. Enjoy the episode. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Sports Fit Mum podcast. Today, I have an expert guest, a certified baby wearing consultant, and the founder of Carrying Connects. Welcome to the podcast, Ruth.
Hi there.
Now, I have to confess, I have 2 little ones, and this is the first time I've ever heard about a certified baby wearing consultant. And I wish I found you 4.5 years ago. Where have you been hiding? I know you've got a little bit of a backstory as to how you got into being a baby wearing consultant. And I know you have little baby Benji there, who is 11 weeks of time of recording, a little bit younger than my little Levy Jane. He's so gorgeous, by the way. Do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and your business, Carrying Connects?
Yeah. My name's Ruth. I am originally from Scotland, but I've been in England for a while. I live on the Wirral, which is a little sticky out bit between Wales and Liverpool. And I'm a baby wearing consultant, which basically means I'm a bit of a sling geek. I basically spend my life talking about slings and helping families all over the UK to find a sling that works really well for them, that they enjoy using, and that they're safe and comfortable. So that's what I do. Do you want me to let you know a little bit of my story, how I came to be here?
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
So I became a mum for the first time when I was 39. We'd been through IVF, and to be honest, my pregnancy was really tough. Everybody gets this impression that everything's going to be amazing, they're going to glow, they're just going to be radiant and they're not going to have any problems. And pregnancy wasn't like that for me. I ended up being diagnosed with depression and anxiety about halfway through the pregnancy, and the rest of the pregnancy was really tough because I didn't feel at all connected to this little baby that was growing in me, even though he was obviously desperately wanted. And I really struggled because I didn't think anybody else felt like that. But it turns out it's actually really, really common. Now, I was really fortunate. I got loads of support. And when Matthew was born, I bonded with him really quickly, but I was concerned that I wasn't going to bond with him. So by that point, I was thinking, using a sling might come in handy at some point. But when I thought of a sling or a carrier, I thought about the big framed backpacks, which I was like, well, that's not going to work with a newborn. When Matthew was born, he actually ended up in intensive care for a few nights. And he, from a very early stage, had reflux. And we're not talking, have a muslin handy, there might be an odd mouthful coming out. He was full feet all over the floor, which I think you'll agree with me, Marnie. It's very stressful having a child who's got reflux. And a lot of people say, it's Benji's just demonstrating that.
Yeah. Well done, Benji.
Everybody says, it's fine as long as your baby's gaining weight, and my baby wasn't gaining weight. And the only thing that I knew helped him was holding him and holding him upright as much as I possibly could. So I went and I got advice from my local sling library, and I borrowed a sling, and I basically haven't looked back. So that was nearly 4.5 years ago now. A sling, I don't think I'm overestimating it, but I think a sling changed our lives as parents for both me and my husband. It's just been an amazing parenting tool, and we're really enjoying being able to go through it again with Benjamin. So yeah, I started volunteering at the Sling Library, and then thought, no, I really want to help lots of other families to get these benefits. So I did my consultancy training. So yeah, as I mentioned, a consultant is just someone that's a bit geeky about all things slings, wraps and carriers. We have special training. We do training about anatomy and physiology, about baby development. We talk about communication and learning styles, talk about all the technical stuff, yes, about how to use a sling, wrap or carrier, but there's much more to it than that. Yeah. Oh, milk. So yeah, that's where we come from. Baby wearing consultants, we're trained, we're insured, we're qualified, we do CPD as continuous professional development. Things are changing all the time in the sling world. There's always new things coming out. There's things move on in terms of what's considered safe positioning and so on. So we keep on top of it. We're up to date with what the latest slings are, so that you don't have to know everything about slings. We do that bit for you. We just find the one that's right for you.
That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing. And it's so brave to share your story about how you felt in pregnancy, because you're right. Often you think you're on your own, or I'm in quite a lot of pregnancy and support groups trying to offer advice and support. And there is a lot of, rightly moaning and whinging about how people feel physically, but there's not a lot ever said about how emotionally or mentally you can feel during pregnancy. And I definitely, for my second pregnancy, felt much more stressed, and I was mentally fatigued, and it wasn't so much physical. It was just that mental battle with myself over quite a few different things. But again, it's not talked about enough. It's always, how are you feeling? Oh yeah, I bet your feet are swollen, or you got
your morning sickness.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you feel nausea. Yeah, like it's all physical. Yeah. There's not enough about how we are, our mindset around how we're feeling and anxious about bonding with our bubbers, right?
So if you've got any advice for people who are around pregnant women, it's not how's the morning sickness, because I didn't have morning sickness. Don't hate me. I'd never had morning sickness with either pregnancy. It's not just about how's the baby and how are things progressing with the baby. It's actually saying, how are you doing? Is there anything that you need support with? And I think that's something that was actually really different with my second pregnancy, was people actually checking in with me as opposed to just me as the carrier of the baby. So that's really important. Sorry, Benji. Oh, Benji.
This is actually my first podcast where I haven't had Evie. She's currently sleeping under the watchful eye of Daddy, which is the first time ever. So I'm slightly jealous that you're currently talking to me with the baby, because that's normally me.
Sorry.
No, don't be silly. Real life, Benji. What was I going to say to you? So I love the fact that your experience, in terms of being a certified baby wearing consultant, the fact that you have to learn about child's physical development, you have to learn about anatomy. I just think that's phenomenal. Yeah. I had absolutely no idea. So listeners, we are listening to an expert here. So do you want to start maybe by telling us all about the benefits of sling wearing for those that, are a little bit like, oh yeah, I just use it to carry my baby from A to B.
Yeah. So in terms of the benefits to babies, most people nowadays, I would hope, have heard of the concept of the fourth trimester. Basically, when babies are born, they've been somewhere nice and cozy. They've got nice boundaries. Everything's muffled. There's no bright lights. there's a gentle rocking and swaying. They can hear their mother's heartbeat, and it's all nice in there. And then they're born, and they're in this big, bright, brash, noisy world where they're put down on hard surfaces. They're maybe away, further distant from their parent. They have to ask for everything they need, whether it's attention or food or whatever. And it's cold, and it can be a massive adjustment to them. You know, nothing prepares you for the fact that your baby wants to be held most of the time, because it takes them back to that feeling of being safe in the womb. So what carrying your child in a sling can do is just helps that transition, because it helps to keep them close to you, and they can hear your voice. It's really good for encouraging communication, and it's been proved to show it improves communication skills. It helps babies to regulate their temperature, regulates their hormones as well as yours. It's good for their digestion, because obviously with them being upright, the food goes in the right direction. It can help, which obviously helps your baby. You're more likely to meet your breastfeeding goals, and it can help with milk supply. And it's just generally a really all-round thing that respects what we've been doing for thousands of years. You know, we've only had prams for the last 150 years, and it just is something that is natural. You know, nobody ever looks back and says, I wish I'd had my baby in the pram more. They say, I wish I'd held my baby more. So yeah, it's really good for babies, and really good for us mums as well. So as I mentioned, it helps to regulate your hormones. It helps to improve your mood. It's been shown to reduce the incidence of postnatal depression, which is obviously a biggie. It helps to regulate your heart rate and temperature and everything. And I think something it really does is it gives you a bit of freedom and a bit of independence in terms of getting out and about. You're not restricted to where you can take the buggy. You're not restricted to having to take a car anywhere. At the moment, something I'm seeing with a lot of new parents is concerned about people wanting to touch their child. And I think that's always been an issue of people thinking that a baby is property that can be handed around. But actually using a sling is a really great way of keeping your baby close. People can see them, people can interact with them, but it's very easy to make sure that people that you don't want touching your baby don't get to touch them. And that's something that is of particular concern at the moment. But people talk to you more as well when you've got a baby in a sling, because it's still a little bit of a novelty. Your baby's up at your height, so you interact with them, have eye contact with them. And because they're so close to you, you're picking up on their cues nice and early. So whether that's feeding cues or tiredness cues. And the earlier you can pick up on those cues, the better placed you are to meet those needs before your baby is in a state. So so many benefits. And a lot of those benefits extend to dads, partners, and so on as well.
Yeah. I do think babies know the difference, though. My baby definitely knows the difference. And I hope that my partner doesn't really catch up on this episode, although I kind of wish he does, because what I really want to say is, don't let anyone tell you that holding your baby for a good part of a day is not normal, because it is normal.
It's totally normal.
I was under so much pressure, you know, I mean, physically, mentally, and emotionally, I was exhausted. Evie is definitely a reflux baby, so different to Ella Rose, who was my first. I carried Ella Rose around a lot, but I think I was younger. I was probably fitter. Coming from a strength and conditioning coach here, I'm like, oh yeah, I was fitter in my first pregnancy. I was younger, I was fitter, I wasn't running around as after anyone else. So second time round with Evie, I just found that I was much more physically exhausted from having her all the time. And my partner said, you know, it's not normal to have the baby in your sling all day. You know, and I started getting that in my head of like, oh God, I've got to try and put her down. She's got to try and go to sleep, you know, in her carry cot or in the buggy or in the car, or like, you know, like I had these, I don't know, it was like maybe week 8 or week 9. And I had this complex that the baby was connected to me all the time, you know. Actually, now that I'm kind of through that much really hard stage, I definitely think from about 6 to 12, 14 weeks was one of my toughest. I don't know if you agree, but the little baby, that first 6 weeks, real newborn, that's, I don't know, the glow period is a little bit, and you're exhausted. And anyway, so that was harder, and all I kept hearing is it's not normal to hold the baby like that, but it totally is normal, and it's really beneficial for all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. It's we are a carried species, and there's this common concern that people have that you're going to end up doing nothing but carrying your baby, and evidence has shown that babies who are carried a lot as youngsters, they walk at the same stage, they crawl at the same stage, they talk at the same stage. They're just as independent, if not more independent, when they're older, because they're secure. Yeah. And what a sling can do actually with dads and partners is it provides a familiar environment for that baby, because it smells familiar. So if you do perhaps have a partner that's feeling pushed out because, well, they perceive they're being pushed out because you're breastfeeding, or because you seem to have that connection with the baby, if they want to have that connection, get them using a sling, because as I said, it's a nice familiar environment. Baby's like, oh, I know this thing. It really can help to build up that connection for dads and partners, and it can help to regulate their hormones as well, because a lot of people don't realize that partners actually also go through hormonal changes when a baby arrives. Wow. Science is a whole thing, and it's about helping you to bond with your child, but it's often not recognized that other parents can suffer from postnatal depression as well. So if you can be helping to build that physical bond, by carrying your child, it can actually improve your mood as well as helping your partner that's obviously perhaps got the mainstay of the child caring responsibilities. If my husband in the evenings takes Benji, and always took Matthew, so that I could go for half an hour and have a bath in peace. And it may not sound a lot, but it was really significant for me to just have that short break. And they've got such a lovely little bond now, and a lot of that I put down to the carrying.
Oh, wow. Definitely. Yeah, definitely. I do see a lot of dads hanging around with their babies in slings now, and I think it's great. Yeah. And actually, I'm going to look into that more about hormonal changes for partners, because I bet it's probably a really hot topic for the families that have like two mummies, right? I bet the mummy that didn't birth the baby, I bet their hormones are all over the shop. Yeah. That would be a really, really interesting topic.
Yeah, so it's something that I think that there'll be a lot more recognition of. I was amazing that I had a great health visitor with Matthew, who would always say to me, "And how's your husband doing?" Because he's important. And I think a lot of things that we do, quite rightly center around mums, but it's about trying to include the wider family in that as well.
Yeah.
So definitely. I think that will change, that will improve.
Yeah. Okay, I really want to talk about your sling wearing top tips. So things that you say on a daily basis to mums when they're choosing their sling. But before we do, I'd really like to jump on quickly and just ask a question around physically being prepared to be carrying your baby in that fourth trimester all the time.
Okay.
So yeah, you go.
I mean, the thing is, as I mentioned, this is what we're designed to do as mums. Basically, if you are physically able to carry your child in your arms, you will be able to use a sling wrap or carrier, because ultimately you're just carrying the weight of your baby. Obviously, be aware that when you've just had a baby, you are more prone to injury. I think you'd agree there, just because of hormonal changes. So obviously, just be careful with what you're doing. Some people feel able to use a sling straight away after birth, i.e. within hours to days after birth. And some people need to leave it a bit longer, and that's absolutely fine. It's like any activity. Don't go out running a marathon the first time you use a sling. Use it around the house, see how you feel. Take it when you're out with somebody else so that you can change over the carrying. Use this thing when you've got your buggy with you or your pram, so that you've got an alternative option. It's about building up gradually. So as your baby gets older, if you've carried them from newborn, your body will gradually adjust and strengthen to carry your child. So I carried my little boy until he was 2.5, nearly 3. And I am not a fit person, Marnie. You'd be ashamed of me. But I'd always carried him. There probably wasn't a week that had gone by that I hadn't carried him. If you suddenly handed me now a 2.5-year-old, I would struggle to carry them.
Yeah.
So what's really important is that you are carrying regularly, listening to your body, and get help in finding a sling wrap or carrier that's going to work for you. You want something that is going to spread the weight, that's going to keep the baby close to your body. You don't want to be having them hanging off you, and something that's keeping the baby in a good place, as well as you making sure that you keep your posture aligned as well. So there's lots of things to consider in terms of keeping your body healthy, as well as keeping your baby's body healthy.
Yeah. So I think I'll jump in there from a strength and conditioning perspective and say that when we carried our baby in pregnancy, you know, we were progressively increasing our load because our baby was growing. So if you know, during the pregnancy journey, I'm a big believer in strength trainings too, that you can keep activating your muscles because they are going to take more load as your pregnancy goes on. And it's then the same as when you birth your baby, you know, you are going to be needing to look after this baby, pick this baby up, hold this baby, carry this baby. But it's funny you come down to posture, because posture actually comes, it's linked so much with our core. And all of our core muscles work together. And it's not just, you know, thinking about your abs. Your core muscles are your lower back muscles, your glutes, your diaphragm. So being able to breathe as well is stabilizing yourself. And I think one thing that I had to do a lot of this time round, because I carried Evie a lot, and I still carry Evie a lot. I have to do a lot of thoracic mobility work, so middle back. So whenever she's down, like I'm on the floor, like opening up my chest, opening one arm, I'm rolling my shoulders back. I got this like neck massage thing that I employ. I plug in and I'm like, come on, de-stress my shoulders, because I find I'm holding a lot here. And I think generally as a person, I'm stressed and my shoulders are up by my ears anyway. But I do a lot of work to ensure I feel like my muscles aren't tense 24/7 from holding my baby. I'm trying to relax mobility, flexibility. And I know that a lot of Pilates and yoga, especially postnatal, really do focus on mobility and strengthening, especially for women breastfeeding as well, because we get ourselves in quite tense positions. Yeah, exactly. As Ruth feeds with probably no pillow.
Yeah, I do. I quite often use my my ring sling as a feeding aid, because that just helps to take the weight. So yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, sling wearing top tips. What can you share?
So my first tip is, don't assume that there is one best sling for everybody. There are numerous choices that will work depending on the age of your child and what you like the look of. Some slings are, as soon as you take them out of the box, you're able to use them straight away. Some different slings will take a bit of a longer period of time to learn how to use. You might want something that's going to last from newborn right up to 3 or 4, or you might want something that's just ideal for that newborn stage and then move on to something else. So don't assume that because your best friend likes sling A that you're going to get on with it as well. If there was one best sling, I wouldn't be here. So
true.
So definitely have a look at different options and find the one that's going to work for you. My next tip is to get support with using your sling. As I said, if it was like something that you could take out the box and use straight away and everybody would have a perfect experience with it, baby wearing consultants wouldn't exist. So it's not like a t-shirt that you can put on. There's you know, you need to learn how to use something properly. You wouldn't go out and buy a car and not have any lessons. So I really would encourage you to get support with using your sling wrapper carrier. My third tip is to try before you buy, which you might think mother care is gone. Where do I actually try these things? So there are retailers who sell slings where you can get demos, although they tend to be quite limited brands. There are some specialist baby wearing shops opening across the country, but also you can go along to your local sling library where you can get support with choosing a sling. You can hire it for a few weeks, see how you get on before you make the commitment of actually buying one. Unfortunately, I do have people come to me that have spent £175 on the carrier that they read reviews of, that everybody raves about, and they hate it. So obviously my aim as a consultant is to help people to use what they already have, and often we can do that quite successfully, but sometimes it's just that something else will work better for them. So yes, if you can, try before you buy.
Okay, that was me. Amazon had really good reviews, and it was this really cool teal color. It's like my favorite color, and I've used it maybe twice because it's, excuse my language, shit. It does not suit me at all.
There's an assumption that because something's available that it's safe, and you know, when you come to have a baby and you're looking at all these products that are being sold to you, there's actually no guarantees that they are safe, especially on Amazon and eBay. There's no rules that said they have to pass any sort of safety tests, so people get something off and assume it's safe, and there's no guarantees with that. Whereas if you come to a sling library or baby wearing consultant, we're doing the safety sort of checking for you to make sure you get something that's suitable.
That's so awesome. So never heard of a sling library. Do I just Google sling library?
Yes. So most areas, they name them after the area, like my local sling library is Wirral Sling Library. You can also look at slingpages.co.uk. So sling libraries, they tend to work on either an appointment or a drop-in basis. So just check what your library does. If you need more in-depth support from a sling consultant, that could be if you or your child's got any sort of health issues you might want to think about. If you're looking at carrying more than one child at once, so either you've got two children of different ages or you've got twins, that's something you would certainly be wanting to get one-to-one support with. Or just that you want to try lots of different options at once, you can look towards a sling consultation, which is one-to-one. And obviously you've also got online support available, so there's either one-to-one options or a course like the one that I've put together. So there is different ways of accessing sling support.
Okay, amazing, because everybody needs to go and check your social pages out and your website, Carrying Connects, because not only do you have a little freebie for us, the basic baby wearing basics, but you also have an awesome course as well. And I can't believe that I didn't know about this any earlier. Gosh, I have to have another baby. No. Your course online is Baby Wearing for Beginners.
Yeah.
Also massively awesome. And you also are you retail quite a lot of different brands as well, don't you? So people can buy from you. Yes.
So I offer brands that you probably have heard of, like Ergo Baby and Tula, and also brands you've probably never heard of, like Marsupi, which is my personal favorite for newborns. And so, as I said, just because it's a brand name doesn't mean it's any better than anything else or anything worse. There's just lots of variety, and it's at different budget points as well. So don't worry, you don't have to be spending £175 on a sling. You could be spending £28 on a sling and still getting something that's going to be safe for you and your baby. So
and how much is your
the retail side? I only retail slings that I believe in, that I believe you can be safe and comfortable with, just because I'm ultimately putting my name and my reputation against that.
Yeah. And how much is your baby wearing for beginners? Are you still there, Ruth?
Yeah. Spam call, sorry.
That's okay. How much is your baby wearing for beginners course?
So baby wearing for beginners is £47, and you do get a cheeky little discount code. If you look in the show notes, I'll give you a cheeky little discount code.
Nice.
So what the course offers you is basically, it's like having a one-to-one with me, but without me physically being there. So it's got everything. I talk a bit more in depth about the benefits of baby wearing, safety and positioning, and then you get step-by-step guidance through each of the different types of slings, wraps and carriers. So how to use them, troubleshooting, feeding in a sling, and it also goes through other things like what should baby be wearing, some of the common concerns, and it's all just a sort of one-stop place for you to access videos that you know are going to be safe and comprehensive. You got all that for £47, and if you do go on to buy a sling, you get a cheeky discount off the sling as well.
I love it. I will just say to the listeners, it will definitely be money well spent, because I have spent a lot of money on slings for 2 babies, and I can tell you now, be prepared, especially in pregnancy. If you can, jump on Ruth's website, do her course, get yourself ready, because when that baby comes along, you want to already have your sling ready to go, right?
Yeah, I really wish I'd had one. I didn't use one with Matthew till he was 3 weeks old because I didn't physically have one. As I mentioned, there's not that many places you can actually go and buy them off the high street. You know, you will see cheap slings available in supermarkets, and generally they're cheap for a reason. They're cheap for a reason. They won't be comfortable for you, and they won't be comfortable for baby, and a lot of them potentially could also be unsafe. So for a lot of people, it's having that sling ready to go. For some people, they do want to wait until baby arrives, but then at least they're in a position to move very quickly to get that sling that they've probably had their eye on. Something like a stretchy wrap, it's going to fit the baby from when they come home from hospital. So that's a really good option to look at for newborns.
Yeah. And for any first-time mums out there who have maybe already through the newborn stage, definitely still do yourself or get yourself on the Baby Wearing for Beginners course with Ruth, because as your little one gets older, you'll likely need to be changing your sling anyway. So you're going to need to go and do another course so that you are more educated. I definitely wish I was more educated before choosing mine. So, but Ruth kind of sent me her course, and it's awesome, by the way.
Thank you. So baby wearing for beginners it does concentrate on the newborn options, but most of the slings will work for older babies as well. I am adding to this course all the time, which is one of the benefits of an online course, and I am going to be bringing out a carrying your older baby course shortly as well, which will cover things like hip carrying, forward facing out, and back carrying as well. So that is a work in progress. Obviously, I have a slight distraction at the moment, but as I said, that will be coming for those of you who are carrying older children as well.
That's awesome, because I'm almost ready to turn Evie out to see the world. I was trying to think when I did that for Ella Rose, and I think she was about 5-ish months, and we were going through the airport in Singapore after going for a trip to Australia, and I don't know why, but I knew she needed to stay awake and alert so that she'd sleep a little later. I was like, right, I'm just going to turn her around in my sling and go for it.
Yeah, I mean, forward facing out is something to consider from around 5 months. You don't have to do it. A lot of parents don't. A hip carry or back carry can work really well as well. With forward facing, it's about safety, and it's about making sure that your baby doesn't get overstimulated. So it's something we suggest for short periods of time when they are nice and alert, and when they are safe to go in the carrier. And that will be down to each individual brand what they recommend. Again, it's something to get a bit of advice and support on when it comes to the time.
Awesome. Oh, Ruth. Oh, Benji's like, sleep time now. Thank you so much for giving up your time to share all about baby wearing. Massive, awesome work for Benji, who was great. And he stars in one of some of your new videos, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. So the Baby Wearing Basics, which is the freebie that you get, all of the videos feature an actual real life newborn baby, rather than a doll, which has been quite a departure from this year.
Yeah. Child labour already.
Yeah.
Oh, Ruth, it's been awesome. Thank you so much for your time. For everybody else, I will pop all the information you need in the show notes about Ruth's freebie, Baby Wearing Basics, as well as her Baby Wearing for Beginners course, and where you can find her. And she's kind of going to drop a little sneaky discount in there for us as well. Ruth from Carrying Connect, thank you so much. Favorite ending questions. Ruth, question number 1. What advice would you give your non-mum self now that you know what you know?
Don't assume that everybody that looks like they've got it sorted has it sorted. You will never have it sorted as a mum. There will always be something. You know, you might see someone else and on the surface they're like so sorted and underneath they won't be. So as you get to know people, you'll find out what they are dealing with. But just don't believe what you see on Instagram. There is no perfect baby. There is no perfect mum. Just embrace, you know, what you're going through and ask for help.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Embrace what you're going through and ask for help. Whew, I think I might have needed to hear that today. So thank you. Okay, and then your favorite thing about being a mum? Oh, he's almost asleep.
The cuddles, you know, that 10 minutes that they have between feeds and between nappy changes where they just snuggle up next to you, and just taking that 10 minutes to have a little cuddle is that's good for me.
And you've got 2 boys, so I think from what I've heard, boys are really cuddly for quite a long time.
Yes, my 4.5-year-old is definitely very cuddly as well, so that's good.
My 4.5-year-old is almost like a 14-year-old teenager, trying to put makeup on and telling me off all the time. I need to swap her. Ruth, it has been absolutely awesome. Thank you so much for giving us all of your valuable information, and we will definitely get you on the podcast again.
All right, brilliant.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Sports Fit Mums podcast. It's awesome to have you along. If you would like to join our community, follow us on at Sports Fit Mums on Instagram. Alternatively, do check out the subscription notes, as you will see a link to our Ultimate Fitness in Pregnancy mini guide. From here, you'll also get some details of the up and coming release of the new Strength